Hello everyone, I'm so happy to see you back on my channel. Today, I will continue sharing the story of the single mother Lythieuca and the policeman Hung. In the previous episode, Lythieuca secretly bought a pregnancy test and discovered that she was carrying a tiny new life inside her. This unexpected joy should have been shared with Hung, the man she trusted and loved. Yet, she chose to keep it a secret, fearing that if he knew, he would become worried and distracted from his duties far away at the unit. And so, she held back the happiness mixed with anxiety in her heart, silently bearing it all alone. At night, when little Tony had already fallen into a deep sleep, Lythieuca sat quietly beside the flickering oil lamp, her hand gently resting on her belly. In her eyes was a fleeting trace of confusion, but soon it was replaced by a glimmer of faith and hope. She whispered to herself, "As long as I stay strong a little longer, Hung can focus on his work with peace of mind. And one day soon, he will know that our small family is about to welcome a new member." And today, the story continues with many unexpected turns. How long will Lythieuca be able to keep this secret? Will Hung, with the sharp instincts of a soldier, soon notice the changes in the woman he loves? And ahead of them, what other challenges are waiting? Stay tuned for today's episode to witness touching, sweet, yet dramatic moments. From the early morning, Lythieuca already felt her body weighed down. A sudden wave of nausea struck her, making it impossible to swallow even the bowl of porridge she had just picked up. The heat from the kitchen fire drifted through the small house, mixing with the smell of food, and only made her stomach twist in discomfort. Beside her, Tony sat with wide, round eyes, staring blankly at his mother. The little boy didn't understand what was happening. Instinctively, he tapped his tiny hand on the worn wooden table, as if trying to comfort her in his innocent way. His soft babbling carried no clear words, yet it was filled with childlike attachment. Lythieuca looked at her son, her heart aching with both tenderness and sorrow, as though it were being squeezed tight. She forced herself to rise, shaping her lips into a bright smile to reassure him. But the smile trembled, unable to hide the weariness and worry in her eyes. The tension in her lower belly grew, each wave of morning sickness crashing in like relentless surf, forcing her to grip the chair and gasp for breath. Her whole body felt drained, hands trembling as she reached for a cup of warm water, managing only a small sip to steady herself. Outside the porch, the pale morning sunlight filtered through the leaves, scattering wavering shadows on the uneven ground. From afar came the sound of roosters crowing, dogs barking, and the faint rustle of the garden trees. Everything seemed as peaceful as any other day, except for the woman inside the little house, silently fighting her private battle. With shaky breath, Lythieuca brushed the damp strands of hair off her son's forehead and whispered, "Tony, be good. Mommy's fine. Mommy will try for you, and for the baby in my belly, too." But even as she spoke, her heart sank heavier. She feared that if this condition continued, Hung would notice from afar and become worried. He was in the midst of a demanding assignment, and she didn't want anything to distract him. So once again, Lythieuca made a promise to herself, "I must be strong, stronger than ever, for the three of us." It was as if Tony sensed the difference. He dropped the little spoon he had been tapping, climbed down from his chair, and toddled over to wrap his arms around his mother's legs. That simple, clumsy act made Lythieuca's tears spill over. She bent down, gathered him tightly into her arms, and felt the warmth of his small body, like a spark of strength, carrying her through another long day ahead. That noon, the summer sun poured gold over the narrow alley. The breeze rustled, carrying the fragrance of orange blossoms from the neighboring garden. Just as Lythieuca sat absent-mindedly on the porch, with Tony crawling around her feet playing with a few bottle caps he had found, the sound of shuffling slippers echoed from the alley's entrance. It was Mrs. Ha, the gentle woman who had once taken Hoai in as her foster daughter in previous episodes. In her hands was a basket holding a few freshly picked pomelos and a bundle of morning greens still wet with dew. The moment she stepped through the gate, her eyes immediately caught the weary look on Hoai's face, pale complexion, dark circles under her eyes, hair damp with sweat and hanging loose. "Heavens, what's wrong with you, Hoai?" she exclaimed, hurriedly setting the basket on the table and pulling a chair close. Hoai forced a weak smile, shaking her head. I'm fine, mother. Maybe it's just the changing weather making me a little tired." But her trembling voice and quivering hands only deepened Mrs. Ha's worry. Leaning forward, Mrs. Ha placed a hand on her foster daughter's forehead, her tone urgent. "You've lost so much weight, your eyes are sunken. You're hiding something from me, aren't you? Tell me the truth, what happened?" At those words, Hoai could no longer hold back. Tears welled up and spilled down her clenched hands. Her voice broke as she whispered, "Mother, I'm pregnant." The whole house fell silent, save for the cicadas buzzing loudly outside the porch. Mrs. Ha froze, her eyes widening, her hand trembling as it clasped Hoai's. After a moment, she let out a sigh, her gaze filled with both overflowing joy and a shadow of worry. "You foolish girl, why didn't you tell me sooner? This is wonderful news, a blessing from heaven." But, her voice faltered, "I can't help but worry. You and Hung aren't officially married yet, and you're already raising Tony on your own. Can you really bear such a burden?" Hoai bowed her head, tears dripping onto her mother's palms. She murmured softly, "I was afraid that if I told him, Hung would worry, and it would affect his work. I planned to keep it secret until he came back, but I'm so tired, mother." Mrs. Ha gathered her foster daughter into her arms, her thin hand gently patting her back. Her voice trembled with both love and lingering fear. "You mustn't carry everything alone anymore. Whatever happens, you have to share it. I'm still here, and Hung is still here. You're not alone, do you understand?" Outside, sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting shifting shadows on the ground, illuminating the two women sitting close together. A small seed of happiness had just been planted in Hoai's heart, yet with it, the trials ahead were beginning to take shape. After hearing the confession, Mrs. Ha sat in silence for a long moment. Her thin, frail hands still clasped tightly around Hoai's, as if to pass on warmth and strength. At last, she gave a gentle squeeze, her voice firm yet filled with love. "Here's what we'll do. You should come stay at my house. That way, I can look after you, handle the meals, and make sure you don't have to bear everything alone. I'll tell Hung, so he can do his work with peace of mind. If you keep hiding this, I'll only grow more worried." At those words, Hoai quickly shook her head, tears streaming down her face. Her blurred eyes shone with desperation as she pleaded in a trembling voice. "Please don't. I beg you, don't tell him yet. He's stationed far away, carrying heavy responsibilities. If he finds out, he'll be distracted for sure. I don't want him to worry. I can endure this, as long as you're here by my side, helping me through the hardest times, that's enough." Mrs. Ha looked deep into her foster daughter's eyes. In them, she saw a mixture of fear and quiet determination. That fragile figure carried within it a willpower that pierced her heart. With a heavy sigh, she wrapped her arms tightly around Hoai, holding her as if she were her own flesh and blood. Her daughter's thin back trembled within her embrace. "My child," Mrs. Ha's voice sank low, "I only hope you'll have the strength to get through this. But remember, don't ever hide anything from me again. Whatever happens, I'll always be here." You are never alone, do you understand? Those words, like a stream of warmth, broke the last of Hoai's restraint. She burst into sobs, all the bitterness and exhaustion of the past days pouring out with each cry. Mrs. Ha gently soothed her, one hand patting her back, the other smoothing her tangled hair, while her heart swelled with boundless compassion. Outside, the breeze rustled the banana leaves, the creak of the old wooden door echoing like a lingering sigh. Inside the little house, two women, one old, one young, sat hand in hand, sharing the heavy burden life had placed upon them. In the corner, Tony was still babbling to himself with his makeshift toys. Noticing his mother crying, the boy stopped, his clear eyes widening before he toddled over and wrapped his tiny arms around her legs. His babyish sounds held no meaning, yet the gesture, so innocent, brought both pain and comfort to Hoai. Mrs. Ha bent down, stretching out her arms to enfold both mother and child. Her reddened eyes still held traces of worry, yet mingled with them was a fragile faith, that as long as love remained, they would overcome everything together. In her heart, a quiet resolve was born: if Hoai wished to keep her secret, she would respect it. But silently, she would shoulder the hardships, meals, porridge, caring for Tony, because she knew too well that this woman was already carrying far more than her share. While back in the village, Hoai was quietly hiding her secret. Far away in the remote mountains, Hung was beginning another workday. The road into the hamlet twisted and turned, rough with rocks and soil. A veil of mist blurred the horizon, while a fine drizzle clung to his shoulders, making the already treacherous path even more slippery. The old motorbike assigned to the unit could go no further. Hung and his comrades had to get off and push, taking cautious steps along the steep incline. Their boots sank into mud, clothes soaked through, sweat mixing with the rain as it trickled down sunburned faces. Yet none of them complained, for they knew well their mission: to bring knowledge, policies, and hope to the people of the highlands. Inside the modest stilt house of the village chief, Hung and his team sat and spoke patiently, encouraging the locals. He explained gently about family planning, advising young couples not to marry too early, not to bear too many children so they could raise them better. Some remained skeptical, some only nodded silently, but Hung did not give up. He knew that every word planted today might grow into awareness tomorrow. By late afternoon, the team left the hamlet. The rain had turned the mountain road into a slick, muddy challenge. Wind howled along the cliffs, broken branches littered the trail. Hung walked ahead, eyes fixed on the ground, each step deliberate. But as he rounded a narrow bend, his foot suddenly slipped on a patch of wet moss. It all happened too fast. His tall frame crashed hard against the cold earth. A searing pain shot through his leg, stabbing up his spine, leaving him unable to move. Cold sweat broke out, his face twisted, teeth clenched to stifle a groan. "Comrade Hung," his teammates shouted, rushing to his side. They tried to lift him, but the agony was too great. His body gave way, collapsing instantly. It was clear he was badly injured and could not walk. With no other choice, they quickly fashioned a makeshift stretcher from bamboo, carefully carrying him down the treacherous slope. Every uneven step was a struggle, but their only goal was clear: to get Hung to the district field hospital as quickly as possible. Through the haze of pain, Hung fought to stay conscious. Images of the small home back in the village flashed in his mind: Hoai's gentle face, Tony's innocent smile. What he did not know was that, in that very moment, Hoai too was carrying her own burdens, secrets he had yet to uncover. After a grueling journey, Hung was finally brought to the district convalescent hospital. The nurses quickly examined him, cleaned and bandaged his injured leg, while the doctor carefully ordered scans to rule out any serious damage. After nearly an hour of tense waiting, the results came in. Fortunately, it was only a soft tissue injury, with no harm to the bone. He only needed to rest for a day under observation to ensure no complications arose. Hearing this, his comrades all breathed a sigh of relief. But for Hung, there was a strange, unshakable disappointment. He had always been the strong one, resilient, unyielding in the face of hardship. And yet, this time, a single slip had left him confined to a hospital bed, powerless as time dragged on. The ward was silent, save for the drone of an old fan and the sharp smell of antiseptic. Hung lay flat on his back, eyes fixed on the white ceiling. Each passing moment stretched endlessly. In his mind appeared the gentle face of Hoai, her anxious gaze whenever he went away, and Tony's innocent smile whenever he toddled toward him, calling, "Dad." He sighed, his hand tightening on the edge of the blanket. A thought flared vividly in his heart. "I can't stay here long. I must recover quickly. Too many things are waiting, my duty to the work, to my comrades, and to the little family back home." For a moment, Hung wanted to reach for his phone, to dial and hear Hoai's voice, to ask after Tony. But just as his finger brushed the screen, he stopped. A worry echoed in his mind. If she knew he was hurt, she would surely fret, her fragile body weighed down with even more burden as she cared for their child. He couldn't let her shoulder that worry. Hung exhaled and set the phone back on the table. Closing his eyes, he murmured inwardly, "Just one more day. Once I'm fine, she'll never have to be troubled by this." In the stillness of the ward, the fading sunlight spilled through the window, casting uneven shadows across the soldier's face, a face both steadfast and heavy with unspoken thoughts. That afternoon, in the small house on the edge of the village, Hoai sat quietly by the window. The last rays of daylight slipped through the leaves, scattering pale golden streaks across her wan face. Her slender hands rested gently on her belly, where a tiny life was growing day by day. Her gaze drifted far away, as if searching toward some distant horizon, toward the man she longed for. Beside her, Tony leaned obediently against his mother's lap. The little boy couldn't understand the changes within the woman he loved most. He only clutched her sleeve with his tiny fingers, an innocent yet unbreakable bond. His clear eyes glanced up at her now and then, before dropping again, his babyish babbling breaking the quiet air. Hoai bent down, forcing a smile for her child, though her heart was heavy with worries. She knew she was hiding a great secret from Hung, hiding not only the joy, but also the fears and hopes tied to it. If he knew, he would worry too much. "I just need to endure a little longer," she told herself, though her eyes blurred with tears. Meanwhile, miles away, Hung lay motionless on a cold hospital bed. Pain from his injury drenched him in sweat, yet the ache in his heart, caused by distance and longing, was far greater. He thought of Hoai, of Tony, wondering how they were at that very moment. One woman carrying a secret, one man hiding his pain, two hearts, apart in distance, yet bound by the same torment, love, worry, and the yearning to share their burdens. Neither realized that in this silence, their love only grew more intense, tightening the bond that held them together. Outside, the sunset fell, casting a soft orange glow across the little village window and the distant panes of the hospital ward. Time seemed to stand still, leaving only the sound of two hearts beating in different places, yet echoing the same quiet longing. In the small house, Hoai still sat by the window, her hand resting on her belly, her eyes gazing into the distance. Outside, the sunset fell, the evening breeze drifting through the leaves, carrying the damp, earthy scent after the rain. Beside her, Tony had dozed off, his soft breaths even and steady, his head resting in his mother's lap. Looking at her son sleeping peacefully, Hoai's heart was warmed, yet weighed down. She knew that from now on, she was not only bearing the responsibility of a single mother, but also the anchor for 2 children. In another faraway place, Hung lay in a stark white hospital room, the fluorescent light casting down on his sunburned face. Physical pain could not break him, but the longing to return to Hoai and Tony left him restless and uneasy. Questions pressed heavily in his mind. Was Hoai healthy? Was Tony behaving well? And in these days apart, did she feel lonely, fragile? 2 people, 2 hearts, separated by distance, each hiding their own worries. Hoai silently endured the torment of morning sickness, refusing to let Hung worry. Hung, lying in a remote highland hospital, suppressed his pain and resisted the urge to call home, wanting only to give the woman he loved a little more peace. Neither of them knew that this silence was slowly widening the invisible gap between them, and that fate was preparing to place them at a crucial turning point. How much longer can Hoai keep this secret? While Hung struggles with his injury far away, and she battles morning sickness and heavy responsibilities alone, where will the path of their small family lead? Will happiness remain steady, or will storms rise once more? The answer still lies ahead. Stay tuned for the next episode, where unexpected turns and deep emotions await, where love, faith, and resilience will be tested to their very limits.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình tiếp tục đưa đến với mọi người câu chuyện của mẹ đơn thân Lý Hoài Ca. Như mọi người cũng đã biết thì mẹ đơn thân Lý Hoài Ca và cảnh sát Hùng hiện tại thì vẫn đang ở xa. Hùng thì phải đi làm công tác ở xa, còn Hoài Ca thì ở nhà. Và hiện tại thì có phát hiện là Hoài Ca đang có bầu một em bé nữa. Tuy nhiên là cái thai thì còn khá nhỏ thôi nên là vẫn chưa có đi khám. Và trong tập này thì Hoài Ca về ở với mẹ của Hà để một thời gian để bà chăm sóc cho. Còn Hùng thì anh đi công tác thì đã bị, trong lúc đi làm thì bị thương nên là phải vào bệnh viện để dưỡng thương. Cũng may mắn là không có gì nghiêm trọng cả. Vậy thì liệu chuyện gì sẽ xảy ra tiếp theo và Hùng và Hoài Ca sẽ như thế nào thì mời mọi người đón xem tập sau nha.